All right, picture this. You're walking through a dense, pitch-black forest at twilight. The woods are dead quiet. Suddenly, you hear the sharp snap of a twig right behind you. And this instant, icy chill shoots straight down your spine. We all know that feeling, right? That instinctual, primal dread of the unknown lurking just beyond the tree line? Well, in today's Explainer, we're going to totally dissect one of the most terrifying, bloody, and enduring urban legends in American folklore. We are tracking the Goatman. And look, I promise you, this isn't just some spooky campfire tale. It's a deep, unsettling journey into the absolute darkest corners of human history, psychology, and, as you'll see, real-world tragedy. So just imagine coming face to face with this thing in the dead of night. The eyewitness legends describe a creature that literally walks upright, like a man, standing 7, sometimes even 8 feet tall. It's got the torso of a human, but the hairy, crooked legs and hooves of a goat. His face is this grotesque, twisted hybrid crowned with massive curving horns. And to make it worse, he's almost always brandishing a heavy, blood-stained axe, with eyes that just burn with this menacing primal fury. It is, quite literally, a nightmare brought to life, a horrifying amalgamation of man and beast, designed specifically to tap into our deepest, most primal terrors. But here is where things get truly disturbing. I mean, we all love a good scare, right? The adrenaline rush of a ghost story is fun. But what happens when these supernatural legends cross over into our actual, physical reality? What happens when a myth, a creature born purely out of whispered rumors and overactive imaginations, actually starts leaving a very real, very bloody trail of human victims in its wake? That's the incredibly uncomfortable question we're unpacking today. Now, the Goatman is far from alone in our cultural imagination. For decades, America has birthed this whole pantheon of localized monsters and cryptids. Creatures rumored to exist, but totally unproven by science. We're talking Bigfoot, winged beasts, alien-like entities, the whole shebang. But the Goatman? He's completely unique. He isn't just some blurry beast spotted from a distance. He is deeply intertwined with local communities, acting as a boogeyman, a scapegoat, and in some incredibly tragic cases, a lethal attraction. To really dissect this story, we actually have to look back, way back. The physical makeup of the Goatman isn't some modern invention at all. It actually originates in ancient Greek mythology with the satyr, and specifically with Pan, the god of the wild, shepherds, and rustic music. So Pan was half human, half goat, right? He was a creature of the deep woods representing the uninhibited, chaotic forces of nature. In fact, if you were wandering the ancient forest at night and heard a sudden terrifying noise attributed to this horned god, the sheer terror you felt was literally named after him, panic. That's where the word comes from. So the big takeaway here is that this modern American monster is built on a very solid foundation of ancient subconscious fear. Section 1. Maryland's Mad Scientist, the birth of a modern myth. Let's head to the 1970s. Prince George's County, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C., was rapidly colliding with suburban sprawl. And this created the absolute perfect breeding ground for a new kind of urban legend. The contrast between the myth and the probable reality here is pretty wild. The legendary origin story, it's straight out of a B-movie horror flick. Supposedly, a scientist named Dr. Stephen Fletcher at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center was conducting these twisted genetic experiments. A goat bites him, their DNA mysteriously merges, and boom, he transforms into an axe-wielding madman, fleeing into the woods to decapitate local dogs and attack parked cars. But the actual historical reality? Back in 1971, locals reported a completely benign, self-sustaining black hermit with a long white beard living in a shanty near a local bridge. He totally minded his own business and just crossed the bridge to hunt. But to bored, imaginative teenagers driving by in the dark, this reclusive man was very quickly embellished into the terrifying Goatman. This timeline is absolutely fascinating because it shows exactly how fast a simple rumor can mutate into mass hysteria. Check this out. In May 1971, a university student simply documented the local hermit story for a class. Totally innocent. But by October, a local newspaper published a heavily sensationalized article about an alleged monster decapitating pets. The result? Absolute community panic. It spread like wildfire. By late 1971, local high schools were actually forming heavily armed Goatman squads. I'm talking groups of teenage boys patrolling the dark woods with weapons, hunting a genetic mutant that literally did not exist. Sociologists actually call this dangerous teenage thrill-seeking legend tripping. And here, a simple oral tradition was completely weaponized by local media. erasing the real human hermit and replacing him with an immortal monster. Section 2. The Pope Lick Monster, a fatal siren in Kentucky. So while Maryland is a fascinating study in mass hysteria, our next stop in Louisville, Kentucky is incredibly grim. It's here, right in the shadow of a massive railway structure, that the Goatman story stops being a fun Halloween thrill and starts becoming undeniably deadly. This iteration, known as the Pope Lick Monster, has a uniquely sinister lore. This particular Goatman lives beneath an active, towering railroad trestle that spans Pope Lick Creek. And the legends claim this creature is a fatal siren. It doesn't just chase you with an axe. It supposedly uses hypnotic powers or even voice mimicry to lure unsuspecting thrill seekers way up onto the perilous, highly elevated train tracks. The myth warns that if you encounter it up there, its face is so horrifying that it will literally drive you to leap to your death just to escape it. Now, 1988 is a seriously dark milestone in this legend. This was the year an independent filmmaker actually released a short movie called The Legend of the Pope Lick Monster, which premiered locally in Louisville. But infinitely more tragically, 1988 was the year the myth claimed a real, documented life. A 17-year-old boy, out looking for the monster, got trapped on the high trestle and was struck by an oncoming train. I really want to emphasize this. These are not campfire tales. These are real human beings and real families completely shattered. Look at the numbers. We have a 17-year-old in 88, a man whose ATV overturned on the tracks in 94, a 19-year-old who fell to his death in 2000. In 2016, a 26-year-old tourist from Ohio named Recco Bain died while actively searching for the monster. And in 2019, 15-year-old Savannah Bright was killed on those exact same tracks. We are dissecting this story today because the legend of the Pope Lick Monster has a verified, devastating body count. And that brings us to this incredibly haunting irony. The monster itself, it isn't real, but the monster is absolutely killing people. The deadly allure of the forbidden, that intoxicating thrill of chasing a legend, is exactly what draws people past the 8-foot safety fences erected by the Norfolk Southern Railway. They climb up onto an active freight line with literally nowhere to run. The supernatural beast might be a phantom, but the oncoming train is thousands of tons of very real, very lethal steel. Section 3. Texas Goatman's Dark History. The Ghosts of Old Alton Bridge. For our last location, we're heading to Denton County, Texas. And here, the lore completely strips away the mad scientists and the hypnotic sirens, revealing a monster born entirely from real-world racial hatred. According to local legend, back in the 1930s, an African-American man named Oscar Washburn was a highly successful goat farmer near the Old Alton Bridge. He was a proud entrepreneur, and he actually hung a sign on the bridge reading, "This way to the Goatman." Tragically, his success infuriated the local Ku Klux Klan. The story goes that they kidnapped Washburn from his home, dragged him to the bridge, and lynched him. But when the mob looked down to view their horrific work, the noose was empty. Washburn had simply vanished. And from that horrific event, the legend of a vengeful half-goat entity haunting the bridge was born. Today, this deeply painful historical trauma has basically been repackaged into a modern thrill-seeking ritual. Ghost hunters and teenagers flock to the Old Alton Bridge all the time. The local lore dictates that if you drive onto the bridge at midnight, turn off your headlights, and knock 3 times on the steel trusses, you will summon the vengeful spirit of the Goatman. It's a really unsettling convergence of historical racial violence and modern paranormal tourism. I want you to read this quote. It is incredibly powerful. It comes from the researchers who are actively keeping this Denton lore alive. And you might wonder, why do they intentionally maintain this terrifying story? Well, because, as they argue, the Goatman of Texas forces a conversation about the very real racial atrocities that occurred in the Jim Crow South. By dressing up as the Goatman and scaring locals, they're ensuring that the story of Oscar Washburn, and honestly the countless forgotten victims of real-world lynch mobs, is never entirely erased from the public memory. In this case, the monster is a proxy for the unatoned debts of history. Section 4. The Monsters We Make. Guilt, Fear, and Campfire Tales. As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to zoom out for a second. From the rapidly suburbanizing woods of Maryland to the deadly railway heights of Kentucky and the racially scarred bridges of Texas, what exactly are we dealing with here? The true horror of our story today isn't a biological creature with hooves and an axe. The real horror is what the creature represents in the American psyche. The Goatman is essentially a mirror. He's reflecting our anxieties, our collective guilt, and the very real dangers we create for ourselves. When you look at the anatomy of this legend across all these states, a very clear, very dangerous cycle emerges. Step 1, something real and usually tragic happens. A marginalized hermit is misunderstood, a dangerous train trestle looms over a community, or a horrific act of racial violence is committed. Step 2, instead of actually dealing with the mundane or ugly reality, society creates a monstrous scapegoat. Because let's be honest, it's a lot easier to fear a mutant Goatman than to face the evil of a lynch mob. And finally, step 3, the myth takes on a life of its own. It draws thrill seekers who inadvertently perpetuate the trauma through the dangerous legend tripping we talked about, sometimes with incredibly deadly real-world consequences. So, ultimately, the Goatman serves a deeply psychological purpose for us. He is the guardian of our darkest secrets. He stands right on the edges of our towns, daring us to cross forbidden bridges, both literal and metaphorical. He is the physical manifestation of collective guilt, a terrifying reminder that ignoring the past, or ignoring the very real physical dangers of the world around us, comes with a really, really heavy price. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. We've dissected the science, the history, and the tragic body counts today. We know for a fact that the half-man, half-beast creature does not exist. And yet, the death toll remains. The fear remains. So if the Goatman isn't real, why do we keep sacrificing ourselves to his legends? Are we just out looking for a cheap thrill? Or are we desperately trying to outrun the realization that, in the end, we are the actual monsters? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep learning, and as always, be careful out there in the dark.